A backsplash is a great way to give your first shot at tile installation because unlike a bathroom or a wet area, it's really more cosmetic. It's going to prevent splashing on that back wall, makes it easier to wipe down, but you don't have to go through the waterproofing process like you do in a shower or a tub or a bathroom. So there's a little bit more margin for error just to get your practice in. And it's also a pretty inexpensive way to pack a design punch in a kitchen or any area that you want to add an accent wall of tile. So today I'm going to show you how to install a backsplash. In my case, I spent a lot of time getting my base cabinets level and my countertop is level. But if it's not, you may have to cut your bottom row of tile. I didn't have to make any adjustments here, but something to take into consideration if you're not starting with a level base. I pulled out my oven and installed a temporary support to help hold the weight of the tile until the thin set up, just to prevent sagging, and then I'll remove this. With the power off, we're going to remove any face plates that sit on any switches or outlets that are going to fall in the area of the backsplash. And then we're going to loosen all the outlets and switches because we want to make sure that the backsplash lays behind where the outlet edges go back and rest, because we want everything to be spaced appropriately once the backsplash is finished. You're going to have to determine what method you want to use to cut your tile. In this case, I'm using what's called a score and snap, and it just creates a weakness by running a small blade on a wheel up the tile, and then you put the pressure down and it snaps either side. This is a great option if you're using a small tile or making simple cuts. This is a cheapy version that I got at Home Depot. There are much higher end, better quality versions of score and snap saws. The thing you have to keep in mind is, especially with a cheaper version, you're not going to be able to make very thin or specialty cuts. So you're going to be limited with what you can do with a score and snap saw. Your other options are a wet saw, and those are pretty expensive. So if you're just doing one project, you might want to consider renting or borrowing one of those if you need one for your project. For specialty cuts that I wasn't able to cut on my score and snap cutter, I used an angle grinder with a tile blade. If you want to clean up the cut edge of your tile, you can use a hand polishing pad like what I'm using here, or if you do have the angle grinder, you can add the attachments to do those with that tool as well. Just keep in mind, you don't want to take too much off. You're just trying to smooth the end finish. If your backsplash doesn't end abutted to another wall, you have to figure out how you're going to terminate or finish the edge of your cut tile. Now, a lot of tiles are going to come with a coordinating bullnose. That's a curved tile or a tile that finishes over the edge, so you can put that on the end pieces and not have a cut or unfinished edge. In my case, I used a strip of Jolly tile, and that's just, in my case, a really thin tile that I could put on as a finished strip on the end. They also offer many colors of metal tile edge trim that you can put on the end. You kind of just have to decide for your design what look you're looking for. We're going to mix the thin set according to the instructions on the package. I actually like to work with really small amounts because then I can make more, keep it the consistency I want to, just as I go. Then we're just going to start installing our tile. In my mind, if I'm installing a small tile in a non-wet area, I have no problem not back buttering. Once we get to a larger format tile, or if you're ever in a shower or wet area, for sure, let's back butter. After this tile is set, I'm going to go back and do one extra row underneath the support post I put behind where the oven's going to go. One, it's just going to help keep it clean back there, but also depending on the type of oven you have, if you can visibly see this little strip, you want to make sure it matches all your other tiles. So factor this in if you're doing a crazy pattern. Protect your counters before you start the grout process. I taped and plasticed mine off. I'm using a single component grout here. I like this because I have color consistency and this product is stain proof. Now there are grouts you mix yourself, there are epoxy grouts, there are single component grouts like I'm using here. Just make sure you follow the instructions closely because you can ruin a good tile job with a bad grout job. When you reinstall your outlets and your light switches, depending on the thickness of your tile, you may need to get longer screws. I forgot to film this step, but you're going to want to use silicone caulk anywhere where you have a change of plane. So this means any of the corners, or for example, where the backsplash meets the countertop, and just pick a color that matches best with your design.